Wasn't that a heck of an intro, fellas? Welcome to the Fairfax Sports Report. I'm your host, Jeff Graham, and tonight we are joined by two special gentlemen from Westfield's football team. We have Cameron Hadnot and Dante Davis. They're going to be talking about their big win over Centerville last Friday. And joining us, as always, is BJ Kubelis from the Connection newspapers. We're going to be talking about some football and some other stuff. We're going to be talking about some region meeting, some volleyball, some cross country, and all that good stuff. Before we do that, we're going to go to our sponsors. We're going to tell you about all the people that make this show happen every week. Quality Care Ford Service Center, conveniently located in Fairfax, servicing all makes and models, 703-383-6299. And CCI Screen Printing for all your screen printing needs, 703-978-0257. Well, gentlemen, I'm actually filling in for the host tonight. Greg Wyshynski is off in New Jersey celebrating the start of the NHL season. So we hope he's doing well up there. Are you excited about the NHL coming into season?
To be perfectly honest with you, no, actually. Not a big hockey fan.
That's probably three of you guys. I'm a fan, but
not a big hockey fan. But got to give it up for Greg. He's been waiting for this for too long. They are finally, I guess you'd call it, unlocked over there in hockey.
He was wearing his jersey today. He was all excited. He had the mustard stains on the sleeves,
right.
So he was looking in part. I guess before we get into football scores from week 5, we're gonna talk about what kind of went on in the region. And BJ, today you were at the region meeting with principals and ADs over at Marshall. Heard some news on steroids. Kind of interesting. What did you get from the meeting today?
Steroids. Always a hot button issue. Watch out. I know we just grabbed a whole bunch of viewers' attentions, but there's going to be a 2-year ban on steroids now, Jeff. So at the high school level, and just let me finish the sentence, and then I'll explain what I mean by it. If you're caught using, any doping substances, steroids, performance-enhancing drugs, you will be awarded a 2-year ban for doing so, and that means you won't be able to participate in any high school activities.
Including forensics.
From what I gathered, you will not be allowed to be on the forensics team had you been using steroids, because obviously it helps empower your vocal cords, which can help you, give a longer speech.
Right.
To get serious for a minute here, you can't use steroids in any level of sports, and now they're cracking out at the high school level. Obviously, we saw it happen in Major League Baseball. Congress got involved, and kind of they had the same fear, I guess you would say, the VHSL did, and kind of came from the top down. It was something that the executive committee voted on and accepted what was already in the state's legislature. And I don't know the exact number of the law or whatnot, but it's a 2-year ban. So the weird thing is there's going to be no testing for it, though.
Yeah, you would think if they could set a ban for it, then you would say, all right, what kind of testing program are you going to put in place? Is it something that you're just going to, by happenstance, come upon a kid who's taking a pill or something? It seems to me like they're going to have to come up with some sort of testing, policy.
To me, it just looks like something like, hey, we've addressed this issue now, leave us alone. Because, the fear was that the state was going to come and tell them what to do. And, the VHSL didn't want that. And so what they did was they just acted before having to react. And so they just accepted the law. They weren't not happy with it. It's a good law. But there's going to be no testing. It's just going to be one of those things where, it's going to be a kind of a gray area, and until lawsuits start flying and we start figuring this thing out, it's going to be a learning process. So just something to look to as
right.
I guess the way that it might be handled in talking to some of the principals and ADs there would be, hey, you see a kid putting on a lot of weight, you can't do a whole lot about it. Maybe some time to intervene with the parents and just looking out for the health of the child, in that aspect of it. But you may not see suspensions flying, but you may just see coaches and ADs and principals just taking more of an active role in, hey, this is what's going on. You may want to address this issue with the parent.
I think it'll be interesting to see, too, if if you see a kid drop off the map for 2 years, or and you're kind of asking the coach, what happened to so and so, and they kind of can't give you an answer. Then 2 years. Do you think that's a fair penalty for that?
I don't know. It's now I look back. I'm no old wise man by any means, but I know when I was 15, 16, 17 years old, I wasn't a bad kid or anything, but I wasn't making the greatest decisions, and I'd hate to see a kid make a stupid decision, you know, and them have to basically forfeit maybe a college scholarship, you know, maybe a career for some athletes. So it could really have a big ripple effect on individual athletes, you know, careers, you know, knowing that they now even start at the middle school level,
Right.
looking at how things progress to get that scholarship, to get to the next level, to get to professional athletes. So it's just something for a wait and see. It's something that, you know, you can't jump to any conclusions yet. You know, it just looks to me like it may be something just to kind of say, hey, we've addressed this issue.
Right.
So,
I guess let's talk to our panel here a little bit. You know, 2 years for steroids. Is this something where you guys are almost kind of like, you know, back when I was a kid, that's something I never thought of. You know, that we'd be dealing with steroids and penalties in high schools and such like that. I mean, is it, you know, what's kind of your thoughts on the whole steroid issue?
I never thought it would really be have a problem in high school
Right.
about that kind of stuff. You know what I'm saying? When I was younger, I'd hear about it, but you know they weren't really cracking down on it that hard when I
Right.
was younger. Like I didn't really, there wasn't like, you know,
Yeah.
a lot of stuff about it. I don't remember ever having it on baseball or all that stuff when I was
Right.
like younger, like in the '90s and stuff. I didn't really hear about it, but now that's all I'm really hearing about. So I can understand them going down to the high school levels because that's where most of it probably starts.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Nobody really. I'm thinking no one will really just like say, "Oh, I'm gonna start it now."
Yeah.
If you're already there,
Right.
you know, you made it already. So
Sure.
why start it now?
Sure.
You know what I'm saying? So they must have been probably doing it, you know, when they were younger or something. That's what I figured.
Yeah. I mean, Dante, is it something where you feel, you know, you and your, you know, kind of teammates and people your age are kind of like, you know, do you think they'll ignore it and kind of say, hey, that's not a problem, you know, in this county? Or I mean, do you think, you know, you guys will talk about it at all? Or
Well, for most teams, I don't think the kids out there take steroids.
Yeah.
But it shouldn't have a big effect in the high school level.
Yeah.
You know, plus it could hinder people's college choices
Right.
and put a bullseye on you if you got caught taking
Yeah,
steroids.
I mean, because if you get caught, say as a freshman,
Yeah.
that takes you, you know, out of your kind of your growth process. And if if it's, you know, junior or senior, you've really, you know, hurt yourself as far as, you know, college is concerned. You know, people come and scout you and stuff like that. So.
it's a mark you don't want to have on your resume.
Yeah,
as
and
you
it's something
said.
that, you know, I think a couple years ago we never thought we'd be talking about in region meetings.
I can't believe it. I can't believe we're talking about it right now. To tell you the truth, it's unfortunate. It's just this is what happens when professional athletes. You know, we think that, you know, they're role models and whatnot, but in fact they really affect kids more than they think. Because look, now, you know, kids are going to be scrutinized in ways that maybe they shouldn't be. You know,
Sure.
and so, you know, just, you know, something to keep an eye on, but not to get too involved in.
Okay. What else went on there over at Marshall?
Over at Marshall, we talked a little bit about practice rules. Practice rules meaning you are, for example, a high school football player. You also play basketball. Your basketball coach cannot talk to you now from the first day of football practice until the first game. And I know Cameron, we were talking before the show, and you mentioned Cameron, you know, being from the Bay Area in California. That's something that was pretty common practice over there.
Yeah,
no?
they didn't. If you played a sport, you really couldn't, you know, go and do. If you're in season for football, like during the summer, and you're doing 2-a-days or you're doing practices with the football team, you can't go do summer league basketball.
Mm-hmm.
You can't do anything with the basketball team. They don't even let you go in the gym. Really, you can't even really you can't do anything with the basketball team at all.
And now, not just not being able to do anything with the team, I mean, your coach literally can have no contact with you. And you asked a good question before the show, Dante. You said, "What if he's your teacher?"
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
and that's going to be something that's going to be to be determined, I guess. You know, that it's going to be another gray area and just things that are going to need to be figured out.
Yeah, like say for instance, what if you're a star on the basketball team and you just happen to play football? You're not but your college plans are for basketball. A high school coach can't come up and say to you, hey, X and Y colleges are going to be calling you this week. It can't be anything like that.
Well, it's going to be. It may put a damper on some things, but I guess the other side of the coin, just to put it out there, is that some kids are really getting overworked. And in some parts of the state, some kids, they're playing other sports and they have to go practice, and they're getting cut from their basketball team in October. Right. Before practice has even started because they're not out at summer league, and so it's just to help avoid some of that.
So it's kind of for it's for the kids' benefit, but they're going to have to find out that. But and it could be one of those things too, where coaches are going to have to start going to parents more, and parents are going to have to go to the kids to kind of maybe relay information or vice versa. So
yeah.
Is that all that went on?
Well, a couple
Marshall, today?
VHSL classification things. I know this is always the
The
fun
important
stuff.
stuff, the
But
important stuff.
you know, there's been some shuffling this year with schools coming in and out. We'll get to that in our previews, and some schools having a lot of success right now. But it's a little bit things could change. From the 6 to 8 classifications and all that craziness we've been talking about. But nothing as of yet. We're waiting to hear from the VHSL Executive Committee's meeting in December. So put that off again, and we'll talk more about that.
It's something that too it's been on our plate for the last 3 years, and we're always kind of waiting for the next thing
next
to
level.
go on. So we're doing it again. I guess a couple other things that went on this week. Oktoberfest cross country meet at Great Meadows. Big cross country fan, BJ. Brad Siragusa from Chantilly won the single A race for the boys, and then Jefferson won the boys title, and Herndon was second. On the girls' side, Westfield's Alexis Deegan, it was the top Northern Region finisher, placing 4th. So Westfield, between the field hockey team and the volleyball team, and I heard the football team's pretty good as well. So
yeah,
not
football
doing too
team's
bad.
doing pretty good, and you gotta mention one thing about Herndon and the way they got back into this thing. They got a great runner over there. He also does track. Abe Dagnachu actually stumbled and actually recovered to take 20th place in the race and help Herndon to 2nd place overall. So you got to give it up for the recovery.
Yeah. This is a
to
kid
get
who was
back into
sick,
it.
and he was leading the race for most of the time, and then fell down. But if to finish 20th when you're not feeling too good, I don't know many people who want to go run 3 or 4 miles and when they're sick. And
I don't know anybody that wants to run 2 or 3 miles when they're not sick.
I need a ball. Give me a football, I'll run, but soccer ball, but not just running. And a couple other things. Volleyball, one of the better regular season matchups. Westfield beat Robinson last week in 4 games. And the state golf tournament's coming up next week. It's going to be at Piedmont Country Club in Haymarket. And then Westfield and Chantilly are going to be the team representatives there. So Westfield's like the cream of the crop, seems like, in all these fall sports.
Domination Station, guys. Is that what we start having to call you?
Jeez. Now, I guess, let's get into some football scores from week 5. We had, a lot of great games, and, headlining that, of course, was Westfield Centerville. We're going to get into that a little later. We're going to go through our list here. I guess as far as games that went on, Lake Braddock over TC Williams, that was a 7-6 game.
What a tough
bit of an upset as far as TC Williams is concerned. I think they were 3-1 at that point.
I believe, they were 3-1. They'd only lost to Oakton, actually.
Okay.
So to come out and have the opportunity to go 4-1 and drop a game to Lake Braddock, who was, I believe they were 0-10 last year.
Lake Braddock was 0-10 last year.
And they're on the rebound, and good to see them, getting back on track over there and getting the win. But what a heartbreaker for TC.
Yeah, Lake Braddock, 0-10 last year. Chantilly was 0-10 last year. Both of them currently, I think Chantilly's a 3-2 record, and Braddock, big win here. So things are kind of rebounding over there. Langley picks up their first win over Marshall, and I know Marshall was a team that started off pretty good. They're 0-2 now in the Liberty District, and Langley, who didn't, is 1-3, is actually still right in that district race, and they have a big game against Stonebridge coming up. So good win for the Saxons.
Yeah, Langley's tied for 4th right now in the Liberty District rankings. They're tied with Woodson and Woodson and South Lakes. So all have 1-1 records. What can you say? Marshall came out and did some good things early in the season. They're coming off now. This is their 2nd straight loss, and it happened in the Liberty District. Hopefully we'll see them rebound after the bye week. They come out against McLean after that. So we'll see. That could be a game to watch for Marshall. We'll see them rebound. And Langley getting things going, putting up 31 points on the board. Josh Siegel, he ran for 114 yards and a touchdown.
You said that was his 2nd straight game of 100 yards, so it's...
Yeah, it's good to see that they've got, a kid that can step into that role. It's the same story every week with Langley, looking to fill that void left by a heck of a running back in Trevor Bacon, who led the state last year in rushing yards and whatnot. Also, I think he had like 25 touchdowns. So to fill that void is just, it's really difficult. And they've done some different things. They even came out passing one week. And, to get a kid in there who you think may be the guy that can do it and carry the workload, it's good to see that Langley may be getting on track. Don't want to get too high. It is a win over Marshall, but
we'll see
what
after
happens.
this week against the Bulldogs. That's a heck of a game coming up. A couple other scores: Lee 30 over South County. This was South County's first shutout. They had played decent in its first couple games, but obviously outclassed against Lee. Then Loudoun Valley 35, Mount Vernon 0. Loudoun Valley is a team that almost beat Stonebridge a couple weeks ago. And when we talk about national district teams, Edison is probably the cream of the crop. Yorktown's right up there, but Loudoun Valley is a team who I think I picked this week to beat Yorktown. I think it's gonna be a heck of a game. What do we know about the Vikings?
Well, I'm just looking at their schedule right now, wow. I mean, they are 3-1, all right, and they're going into a game against Yorktown. They get that game, all right. Then they have, check this out, Washington and Lee, Falls Church, 2 very winnable games. Then,
not exactly Westfield Robinson there.
Yeah, they got Edison, that's going to be a tough one. They're ranked in our top 10 over there. And then after that, they got Stewart and Wakefield. One of those tougher games, Edison or Yorktown, goes their way. They have the opportunity to go 8-2 in their first season in AAA football.
And a lot of people were thinking, what is Stonebridge going to do coming, from Loudoun County? What kind of impact are they going to make? Loudoun Valley just almost an afterthought, but they're the ones that could really finish with the better record, just depending on how it plays out.
Valley's coming into, you don't want to call it an easy district, but an easier district than the situation Stonebridge is coming into, and those kids are driving all over the place, something like 44 miles or whatnot each way, and so to see them, getting it done, it's good to see. Bruce Shepard over there, he's a great coach, and everybody out in Loudoun really respects the guy and doing a heck of a job.
Good to see Shepard turn around. He was actually my high school coach in 1995 when we went 0-10 at James Woods, so they're doing a little bit better at Loudoun Valley. Up next, Madison 14 over McLean 3. This is a game I thought Madison could take just because I saw Madison against Chantilly. They were a pretty strong running team, pretty stout against the run, and just a little too strong for the Highlanders.
Yeah, it's been a tough season for McLean. I mean, they got beat 68-14 against Robinson, and I think that did some emotional damage to that team, to be very honest with you. They don't want to say that totally kicked their season in any way. I mean, Robinson has done that to a lot of teams, but definitely didn't help. And to try to rebound against a Madison team that really plays ball control, just runs it up the gut and won't give you the ball. So if you make a mistake, you're going to pay for it. And they did make some mistakes. They have a new quarterback in now, John Shola. He's a young guy. He played on the JV team last year and came in through an interception, and that may have been the mistake that may have deflated some things. But he's a young guy, and Coach Rivera over there knows that they cut down the mistakes, and they may start doing well. I mean, they have the Liberty District. It's not the toughest district, but it's somewhere that they can definitely compete.
I mean, when you look at the score, it was a game they competed in, and 10, 11 points is a game they, a couple bounces, either way they obviously could have won. Next, Oakton improves to 5-0 with a 26-7 win over Chantilly. Oakton's rolling. They're a team that we've talked about before on the show. Pretty balanced, even though the score at halftime of this game was 0-0. They put it on Chantilly in the second half. Chantilly, I think, their leading rusher had about 19 yards. So Oakton really does a number, on run defense. On the offensive end, Keith Payne had 211 yards in this game. Kind of a breakout game for him.
Yeah.
We all know that he was a good running back, but maybe we should start talking about him as one of the elite runners in this region.
Yeah, I mean, Payne has had a couple of games where he'll play the first 3 quarters and then the coaches will rest him. And I know that's something that you guys know about Evan over there at Westfield. But and Evan had a week this week where he came out, and we'll get into that. But Payne is I guess starting to get into the Concord now, where he's going to have to carry the ball. And 211 yards, maybe that's a statement game for him saying, hey, I can compete too. And I can, like you said, be one of those elite backs. He's got another guy over there that really helps spell him in fullback, Taylor Nalepa, who's just at about the 80, 90, 100-yard mark every game, kind of goes unnoticed. But bruising fullback can just pound you, So they've got a great mix over there. They're going to give people fits this year.
And I think, Chantilly, Austin Decker, their backup quarterback, played again. Had 8 completions, 2 interceptions, and 1 touchdown. So I thought it was going to be a hard, he was able to play well against Madison. I thought this was going to be a harder game, for them to compete. But 26-7, not too bad.
Young quarterback comes in against an Oakton defense. I mean,
sounds like Alex Smith this weekend against the Colts. I mean, he's going to be really under pressure there for the 49ers.
Brooks against the Ravens, huh?
Sure, yeah. Or now Vinny's getting in there. Yeah. Robinson, Hernan, almost the shock of the week this week for Hernan. They were able to play right with Robinson. But there was a little asterisk for
Yeah.
Robinson in this game. You know, look at the score and you may say, what happened? This was almost the biggest upset of the year. You could probably say.
Yeah.
What happened with Robinson?
Well, I mean, we got a couple of Concord guys here, and I think they were just as shocked as we were. I was at their game, watching that game, and I had heard the halftime score, 14-14, and I couldn't believe it. And I was on last week's show, and I was saying, hey, you watch out for Herndon. They may come up and bite a couple people.
You almost look like a prophet.
So I was looking like a genius. But, the asterisk, like we said, is Goff, the quarterback, Robinson. Yeah, it was hurt, with an eye injury, I believe they mentioned.
He was poked in the eye in practice, and instead of they really didn't have a backup quarterback. So who do they throw in there?
Yeah.
Star running back Lucas Caparelli.
Yeah.
And when you looked at the box score, 0 completions. You can kind of see why maybe it was more of a one-sided game. But when you look at the stats, Caparelli had 15 carries, 71 yards, a touchdown. Not stellar when you think of a kid who could get 200 yards.
Yeah.
And then on the flip side, Zay Lopez for Herndon, 150 yards passing. And Chris Thompson, 11 carries, 99 yards,
right.
For Herndon. So Herndon really, even though they weren't going up against a Robinson squad that was 100%, they really, showed people some things, I think.
Yeah, I mean, you guys are in the district with Herndon, and that's got to be a team that you're worried about, no?
Yeah, definitely. At our school, we don't take anybody lightly at Westfield. We don't. If they lost to this person, we beat that person. We don't really, every team is a new team in our eyes. We don't put our stuff up on a pedestal or anything. So we just playing like any other team. It could be Oakland. It'd be the same exact practice, same everything as anybody else.
And watching it, I'm sure you guys, we were talking earlier, you guys have watched some film this week on Herndon. Did you see anybody or anything that you didn't see before that maybe we may have to look out for that when it comes to Herndon time, which was this week?
Their defense, they have a really tough defense. They're not easy. Like, what you're saying, Robinson been putting up points. I know their quarterback was out, but still their defense was pretty. Herndon, our coach said they always had a strong defense, so that's something we're worried about.
They also have a good quarterback and wide receiver with the new running back in place. He's been doing pretty good, so we got to keep an eye on him.
Right. And it's when you talk about the Concord District race, you're always hearing Robinson, Westfield, Centerville, Oakton. Herndon's a team that could, if they're able to get maybe a win or two, will be right there in the playoff berth. But this really would have shook up the whole Concord District race. I think.
If Herndon doesn't make the playoffs this year, which right now with the type of teams that are in the Concord, if they don't make it this year, they'll win it next year. And I'm giving you my prediction right now.
Of course,
junior quarterback.
Dante and Cameron are going to be graduated, so we all know
they've got a junior quarterback and a junior running back, both putting up great numbers as juniors. So good to see that if they mature. I mean, you never know. Maybe Herndon may finally get to break that mold with Tommy Meyer there, and he's always said, a good team in a great district. Maybe they'll get to be a great team in a good district.
Absolutely. South Lakes 41, Woodson 14. Now I know we bashed South Lakes the first couple weeks on this show because they hadn't scored against, no mind, Centerville and I think it was Robinson.
Centerville and
Centerville and somebody good.
Yeah, I think it was Robinson. Yeah, Robinson beat them 61-0. Yeah.
They put up 44 points in a loss to Jefferson, 41 points this game. What's the change, BJ? What do you know over there?
The change is the opponent, really. I mean, they came out against the Jefferson team and showed after getting shut out their first two games against some really tough Concord teams, they came out against Jefferson and found the end zone a couple of times after the halftime speech that Coach Ellenberger delivered, which was
was it a speech or was it a spew?
It wasn't much of a speech, I don't think, but it was the message was relayed, and these kids really responded, and every game now they've had three guys, and last game they had three guys rush for nearly 70 yards, so looking like they have a three-headed monster over there, like we had first thought in the beginning of the year that they would be able to have, and maybe even adding a fourth to that, Chris Coates, kind of a breakout guy, 95 yards. And so, Coates didn't come out early in the season. This is his first real game on offense. He was late getting into practice and that sort of thing. So maybe another breakout guy over there.
Next game, Stonebridge 49, Jefferson 20. I mean, this is a game I picked Jefferson in. I guess I didn't see the warning signs when South Lakes put up 44 on their defense, but they give up 49 to Stonebridge. Stonebridge, here's a team that almost lost to Loudoun Valley, I think the week before, so I was kind of hesitant to pick them. I'm talking to Coach Mickey Thompson. He's telling me, Jefferson quarterback Matt Wong presents a lot of problems. Don't know if we can defend them. Turns out it's kind of a blowout. The game was a little bit closer than but Stonebridge scored the last 3 touchdowns of the game. But Stonebridge is a team that, they look like they could be taking control in that Liberty District.
Absolutely. We'll get into when they meet Langley in our preview time, but I'm telling you, they're a scary team, and I used to cover them in AA ball in Loudoun County, and they were giving everybody fits over there. So many region titles, and everybody said, "Oh, well, when you go into the AAA, it's going to be a whole lot. It's going to be a different ball game." And they have yet to see that different kind of ball game because they're just coming in here and they're imposing their will upon teams. And got a great coach over there, Mickey Thompson, who everybody respects in this area, and he's definitely earning a little bit more right now.
And they've been doing the same things they usually always do. Terrence Glenn, the quarterback, Shamar Knight Justice, running back, and Kevin Walker kind of had a breakout game for them this week. 321 yards, combined rushing. So they're doing what they do. They're actually, I would have to say they're probably a favorite right now to win that Liberty District, depending on how there's some other games shake out.
They took the district lead this week with that win over Jefferson.
Yeah,
so.
But I think Langley's a team that Mickey Thompson says don't overlook this week. West Potomac 20, Hayfield 17. Game where West Potomac is I think it's proven to be a little bit better than we thought. Hayfield not as good as we thought. It was a game that Hayfield could have won, but West Potomac making a little bit of push in that Patriot District. West Springfield 41, Fairfax 14. West Springfield's A.J. Johnson 269 yards rushing and 3 touchdowns. BJ, this is a team that I think the first 3 or 4 weeks was struggling to rush for 20 or 30 yards.
Yeah.
And as you know, high school football, a lot of it's centered around the run. So to rack up a total like that's pretty impressive.
They had a deflating loss to, I guess who? Stonebridge. We've talked about it before, but it's a tough loss to take when it was the first week of the season, nobody knew who Stonebridge was, and maybe it got on their mind over there at West Springfield. Right. And we talked about that factor, but I guess they showed us, they came back and, I think our buddy Greg, who's at the Devils game tonight, was at that game, and it wasn't looking like West Springfield was doing much in the first half, and they came out in that second half and just pasted, I think 30-some points on the board. So.
And they're a pass-oriented team, so maybe they're just trying to figure out, hey, we need to run the ball, mix it up a little bit, and we'll have success. All right, let's get to the game we've all been waiting for.
Yeah. Let's get warmed up.
All this has been just an appetizer for the main course. We're talking about Westfield against Centerville. BJ, you were at this game. Unfortunately, I was at a Coldplay concert last Friday and didn't get to go.
What do you mean, unfortunately, you were at a concert?
Well, it was fortunate for me, but after you text messaged me the score, I was like, this was the game that I should have been at. Very disappointing. But for you, you said it was the best experience you've had on as far as covering a football team.
And look, we see why. Look at that touchdown pass, and now we see Centerville tried to run the ball with Andrew Morgan, but wasn't having the greatest succce.
Yeah, Andrew Morgan was a kid who had 10 touchdowns coming in the last 2 games coming in, but Westfield's defense really shut him down. And I think Drew Dudzik proved to be probably the top quarterback, I would say, in the region. He had a great game, running, throwing the ball. But Westfield's defense proved to be pretty stout.
Defense, guys. Talk about that defensive effort and what's it like to be able to try to cover a guy like Dudzik and shut down that passing game.
Well, Drew's great. He can make the tough passes, and Cam, he has Cam on the side. Cam is one of the great wide receivers around here. So it was tough trying to cover both of them. Plus, with their factor players, number 7 and number 3,
right,
number 6, they were fast too. So
there we saw an example of Westfield's great kicking game, and I think we were talking before the show that proved to be a big impact in this game.
Rolled out on the 1.5-yard line. What a beaut. And then who's this guy? Tell us a little bit about who this guy is. We're not sure. We've not heard of this player before. That was Royster running in one of his touchdowns, and there was Dose getting his first completion.
And here was a stop and go. Oh, I don't know who that.
That's Dose.
That's Dose. I don't know who number 16 is, but
you guys want to talk about number 16 on that play?
R.J. Curry. He's a good.
Cameron Dose is a tough player to defend.
Yeah.
He is.
And here we have Josh Whitmer playing quarterback. Whitmer had a very good game for the Bulldogs. Had a couple touchdown passes. Had a quarterback sneak for a score. And we have more Evan Royster coming up. A bit of a gang tackle there for Centerville.
I was really impressed with Royster. I haven't seen a player in this area that can run through the tackles the way he can. It's really impressive. Watch this. Okay, he finds the corner here, but really during the game just lowers a shoulder there. But during the game, most of his runs were actually through the tackles, guys. That's pretty impressive. What do you see that in practice and in a game? What's the difference?
And here's the catch of the year, ladies and gentlemen. That was Cameron Hadnot with almost a one-handed grab there on a post pattern.
Cameron was just completely parallel to the ground on that catch. I mean, it was pretty impressive, Cameron. What were you thinking? You guys are down, and Evan obviously scores the game winner right there. But yours should have been the game winner.
Yeah, I was. When they scored, I wasn't really worried because I think that we would get in the end zone because we practice hard all week, we work at it. So I was confident. I wasn't saying, we were definitely gonna score and doing all I was just had faith that we would probably get in the end zone another time, maybe, So after I scored, it was fine. After they scored again, I was like, all right, well, we just got to get in the end zone and get this game. So.
Just the final score we want to throw up there is Yorktown 58, Stewart 14. That speaks for itself. Let's talk more Centerville Westville. BJ, you were here at this game, pregame. Got there real early because the traffic is always killer over there with 7,000 estimated fans there.
Yeah.
Just talk about a little bit about the atmosphere. Was it the biggest game you've ever been to? Obviously, one of the more exciting games.
Yeah, I mean, it really was. I mean, it was all that it was billed to be. I was very upset that the blimp was not there, but I survived and got through it. But,
you can read all about that in the Connection newspapers this week, by the way.
But, I showed up early, and I see them wearing that Centerville blue. You know something about that Centerville blue right now. Uh-oh. But, yeah, I mean, it was a really good atmosphere for high school football. And seeing everybody with the paint on, it really almost was like a college football game.
Yeah,
I mean, guys,
nice
when you came out and you see that type of atmosphere, what's going through your head? I mean, you're on enemy territory right there.
Yeah, I mean, I was basically, when we came up there, I was focused for the game. Everybody was getting focused, but the atmosphere was nice. I like playing in big games. So
I'd never ever been in a game like that before, so I was kind of, a little shaky about it. I was like, wow, because when I got out there, I didn't see really when we went down.
Mm-hmm.
So I came back out and I was like, I kind of slowed down a little bit and I was looking around like, oh my gosh.
Yeah, fans was crazy.
So when we were running out, I heard they were booing us or something, but I didn't hear any of that. I was just straight Westfield, going on our sideline, just getting pumped for the game.
Yeah.
I guess, talk a little bit about, Coach Urbanek. Obviously, there's a bunch of big games for you guys this year. What did he kind of say before this game in particular, as far as, just kind of getting used to the atmosphere and being in a big game?
He pulled us aside in practice that week. It was me, you, was it Josh? Josh, and then Evan came just to talk about it. And he was telling us, this is going to be a big game this week, guys. I know you haven't really played anything this big. Mm-hmm. He was telling us you just want to treat it like any other game, only worry about what's going on the field. Don't worry about anything else that's going on and stuff like that. So, he really put into perspective about what I was going to do, and because, I was little. I wasn't showing it, everybody's like, you nervous? I'm like, nah, I ain't nervous. But I was really on the inside. I was like, oh my gosh.
I mean, he basically he said it wasn't a make or break your season game, but it was a big game. He tried to install it in our heads.
He wanted to win the game. So
it was a game that, if you guys can get the win, you're that much far ahead of Centerville right now. As far as, you guys are leading in power points. So I mean, it's a good way to kind of get started. As far as kind of getting into the game, did you have a sense of is this going to be a high-scoring game? Is this going to be 10-7, or did you have any kind of feeling?
We didn't really have any. We knew we were going to score some points, but we didn't think it was going to be like a blowout game. We knew it was going to be a hard game because it's Centerville. You know what I'm saying? So I've never really played against Centerville. People were telling me all week that it's going to be a hard game. I don't really know because I'm not. I've never ever seen any district like this. This is like one of the hardest districts I've ever played in. So I just knew it was going to be a hard game. I was just taking it like Coach Urbanek's taking it. Like he takes every game. He never says that, we're going to win, we're going to do this. He's the most humble guy I've ever met in my life. It's rubbed up off on me too. So
Right.
I actually like it now. We say real low key.
And Dante, now you were at Chantilly last year, correct?
Yes.
Was it, is it good going into a game saying, hey, we know we can play in this game. I know Chantilly kind of struggled the past couple of years. What kind of, did your mind frame kind of change to say, this is a game that, I'm going in for the first time, I feel like we can compete, whereas maybe, past years you're kind of like, I know we're going in, and we're probably going to lose.
With the coaches over there, it puts everything, it makes everything easier.
Right.
And we have some of the best coaches around, like Coach Craig, Coach Vanning, they're good. And the players and athletes we have over there, so it makes the games easier, and they put you in good positions to make plays. So,
very good. I guess let's talk a little bit about Evan Roysters. He was thinking about joining us tonight, but I heard he had was a flat tire, getting his tire changed or something like that.
Yeah.
As far as just players that you guys have been around, how would you characterize him? Is he as far as a football player is concerned, is he among the best you've been around?
Yeah, he's actually one of the best that I've been around ever, for real.
Evan is the truth.
Yeah. Evan reminds me a little bit of Maurice Drew.
Okay.
He's running back for UCLA. He played at De La Salle, and we played against him before. And Maurice the running style I see is kind of like the same. Not really one of those guys who cuts back like really, but he kind of finds the holes and slices through, breaks a lot of tackles, and then he hits the outside and the speed just takes him all the way up the sideline. So that's the type of runner, like him and Maurice, that's what I really compare because I've seen Maurice play and I've seen him play, real close up. So that's who I compare him to.
Go ahead.
I really can't compare him to anybody.
Uncomparable.
He's good, but the way he runs is just like, it's not really like a power run or he's a speed runner.
Just a speed guy.
He does everything. He can make the cuts. He can shake you, run past you, run through you.
Yeah.
He can just do it all.
I was talking with Coach Skinner last week when I was doing the preview for this game, and he goes, it kind of reminds me of Emmitt Smith, where he's not the fastest guy, and he's not the guy that's gonna just run around the corner and burn you, but he's real shifty. And we were talking about how do you defend Evan? He was like, you really can't just say one player's gonna go stick on him, or we just have to get a lot of guys to the ball. And as hard as Centerville tried, I think the numbers speak for itself. 270 yards.
278 of almost, I think, nearly 300. So a lot of the rushing yards. The ball was really always going through Evans somehow. Two different quarterbacks interchanging within the game, but really Evan even took a direct snap during the game and right up the middle. So just the ball always seems to be in his hands, and obviously there's a lot of playmakers on that team, but it's got to be great guys to be around a guy like that. Definitely maybe opening you guys up for plays.
Yeah, he makes our job a lot easier, allowing us to get open, and the coverage scheme.
Yeah.
Man-to-man coverage. Yeah. He brings everybody in the box.
Yeah, when we played Woodson, they had about 9 in the box, no safety. They were just worried about Evans, so that opened up us running or passing the ball. So when we play teams that really key on Evan,
which is mostly everybody,
it opens up our passing game a lot.
Yeah.
It gives us a chance to try to show what we can do, and
Yeah, the coaches just put us in good positions to make plays. So all we have to do is get out there.
And talk a little bit more about that, because when we were doing our preseason picks and stuff like that, when people started to talk about Westfield, it was just like Evan Royster and a bunch of people that nobody else knows. Westfield's only going to go as far as Evan can take them. Mm-hmm. But I think you saw in this game that that's not the case. You guys are going to have to be successful. The wideouts are going to have to play well. Defense is going to have to play well, and I think you guys have. Did you guys kind of take that as an insult when people think of Westfield, they only think of Evan Royster?
Not really. You have to. He's one of the best in the state, nation. Yeah. But, for us, we just go out there every game, just do our job. And that's all Coach asks for us to do.
Do our job. We don't really worry about all the hype and everything like that's, it's not really hype. It's just actually credit because he is a good back, But with us, it doesn't really bother us when they talk about him because it's about the team, really. Mm-hmm. And even if they're talking about him, Evan knows he's a part of the team. Yeah, Evan is not the type of guy to be like, yeah, look at me, I'm in here, I'm in there. He's like, he doesn't really put it all like on that, like in the papers and all that stuff. So we just play as a team, and whenever they key in on Evan, they can pass to us, and whenever they key in us, they'll pass to Evan or they'll give it to Evan. So, I think we're just gonna be all right.
I think Evan was so humble tonight. He wanted you guys to have the spotlight and be on TV and all that good stuff.
The old tire trick. Guys, talk a little bit. Everybody wants to talk about Evan offensively. He had 278 yards that night, but really that last play of the game, the game ender, breaker, whatever you want to call it. I talked to you after the game. I was interviewing you for the paper actually, and I asked you what you saw. You gave me a nice quote, the whole description. Do you remember kind of what you saw? Can you do that? Can you rehash it for us here on the air?
I remember watching. I was just looking at Drew the whole time, and I saw him kind of bring the ball up, and I thought he was gonna run, so I screamed out run, but then he just stepped up and threw the ball up in the air, and I looked back and I see Evan right there. So I was like, all right, he's gonna pick this off, because before he even got the ball, I was like, yo, he got this. He better have this. So so he got it, and I saw him come down, and I saw the ref, put his hands up, that way. I was like, okay, well, finally, I just took a load off, just like, thank you.
And for those of us that were at the game and saw the FSN, coverage of the game, just let me set the scene real quick. Drew Dudzik at Centerville. They were on the 25-yard line. They threw up the fade to the back, pylon, and like you mentioned, Evan jumped up, came down with the ball, intercepted the ball, 17 seconds left, and that ended the game. And I think were you getting carried off the field? Who got hurt? You getting carried off the field. What are you getting carried off the field for? What happened now?
That's
you
my
cramp up or
cramps.
Okay.
Cramps.
All right. So you're
everybody,
okay now, right?
Everybody was really cramping up after the game.
But you were celebrating too while you were cramped.
I couldn't celebrate.
So let's get this straight. Dante doesn't sweat, but he gets cramps. Keep that in mind. Keep that in mind. I guess as far as stats are concerned, when you look at Royster this year and last year, he hasn't had to carry quite as much. His carries have been down 90 carries this year, 118 last year. But as far as yardage is up, he's up over 1,200 right now.
Yep.
Last year he was about 1169. Yards per carry, 13.4. It's down a little bit from 17. Something it was last week.
The wheels really coming off over there, isn't it?
15 touchdowns. He had 17 last year, so he's right there with the touchdowns.
I mean, at this point in the season, and now they're obviously getting into the tougher part of the Concord. They're going to see a little bit of different defensive schemes and maybe tougher defenses. But half the work's already done. And talking about individual stats, we don't. The work isn't done for the team. The team wants to push forward. But for Royster himself and then the yardage that he's got, incredible.
We're gonna be talking about some hot seat questions coming up. We're gonna ask these guys, who's the hottest girl at Westfield, maybe stuff like that. But first, we're gonna go through the Week 6 schedule in the Northern Region, and we have some great ones coming up. Centerville at Oakton. What do you think? What do you think of that one?
Well, I must say that I am now officially spoiled.
You're officially on the Oakton bandwagon?
Yeah, I'm on the Oakton bandwagon, okay. But I'm spoiled, guys. I went to this Westfield Centerville game. Talked to everybody I talked to there said that's the best high school game they've ever seen. And a lot of the guys coming off the field were saying the same thing. Greatest game I've ever had the pleasure of being a part of. Even Coach Skinner, I talked to him after the game. He was, just not too thrilled about the way the game ended, but even himself, on the losing side of the ball, said this is the best game he's had, the pleasure of being a part of. So, or one of the best, and that says a lot about the level of play. So I am now spoiled for the rest of the season. So no matter where I go, it's not going to live up. But hey, this one has the ability to live up to maybe something like that. And these two teams went to overtime. The past 2 years they've played each other. And both are pretty equally matched. Centerville has a great offense. We saw that this week. You guys had the pleasure of seeing that offense.
Or displeasure.
But Oakton's got a great defense, and obviously they have those offensive weapons. We've talked about Keith Payne. They've got a receiver, Irvin Garner, quarterback Kevin Houghton. And the thing to remember about Oakton, they've got special teams too. That's a big part of the game. Not everybody wants to talk about special teams, but they can really get it done. So, I look for maybe another barn burner there, but hey, we'll see.
I guess you talk about special teams. Westfield's David Miller had 6 kickoffs in your guys' game, and I think that was a big key. Centerville was starting out on the 20 a whole lot, so that really hurt them. And for Centerville, this is really the second of 3 tough games. Westfield now at Oakton, then they're going to host Robinson for their homecoming. So I mean, you talk about some big crowds, but if Centerville doesn't win this one, all of a sudden they're looking at an 0-2 hole with the defending region champs, coming to town. So Centerville, I think, really has to take this one. Oakton, we'll see. It should be a great game. Yeah. Herndon at Westfield is going to be the FSN Cox 35 game of the week, and as we saw, Herndon can play with pretty much everyone in the district. Yeah. If they don't have their starting quarterback, maybe. But a game that should prove to be a battle.
Well, we'll see how Herndon stops the run. They did a great job, and the test that I got to see them against, they did a great job against Parkview. Now, Parkview, a little bit of a difference than Westfield. I mean, we've got these guys here to tell us all about that. But they did a great job stopping the run there. They stopped a kid who had 1,600 yards rushing last year. I mean, they held him near the 50 or 60 yards for the game. So they can stop the run. A big difference, though, from Dudinsky over at Parkview to Royster, who we've talked about and sang the praises for. So Herndon showed the ability to be able to scare some people this week. They came up and nearly bit Robinson. Granted, their quarterback was out, but hey, they hung in, and they've got an offense that is pretty incredible. I mean, young guys going to do really well this year and next. So, maybe not enough to quite get over the hump against Westfield, but it's going to be another. From here on out, guys, you guys are going to have tough games every week. And just a couple of words on Herndon, what you expect to see there.
I expect a hard game, just like any other game we had. For the Concord District, I'm thinking is going to be, tough games all the way through. Mm-hmm. Really not going to be any walkthroughs like we've had before. You know what I'm saying? So I'm just ready for I'm not taking any team lightly. There's no joking around. You know what I'm saying? I think the whole team, we all think that this is going to be just a hard game because their defense is really good. Their offense can score, as you saw against Robinson and stuff. So because Robinson had one of the top defenses last year and this year, and they're stopping people. So they didn't have anybody out on their defense, and they put up 14 points, and they threw 2 interceptions within 5 yards of scoring a touchdown. So
that's a lot of points considering Good Counsel only scored 6 on Robinson, and they were the #1 team in the post. Mm-hmm. Now they've fallen out of the top 20. Yeah. Go figure. But I mean, should be a heck of a game.
Chris Thompson over there at Herndon quickly making a name for himself. 99 yards. We talked about him a little bit earlier.
Younger brother of David Thompson, who was a terrific back out there in about 5 years ago.
So their backfield's looking real good with Lopez back there throwing up touchdowns. Little dimension there.
Absolutely. Loudoun Valley at Yorktown. This is a game, as far as the national district is concerned, probably the second, third best teams. It's pretty much a toss-up. I mean, that should be a great game this week. McLean at Woodson. The two teams are kind of struggling, but whoever wins this week is going to be feeling a heck of a lot better about themselves. South County at Lake Braddock. Probably a game that South County I would think would be able to play Lake Braddock a little tougher than they did last week, but I think the Bruins should be able to take this one. And then South Lakes at Madison. Kind of an interesting game as far as running attacks. You look at South Lakes, more of a speed, try to get around the corner maybe. Whereas Madison, they have about 5 plays. A lot of times they'll run the same 6 plays over and over again. Yeah. But a lot of times, they can't stop them. So
we were talking about it in the office earlier this week, and Madison has the ability to make people, I guess, you don't want to call it playing down because it's not like they're doing anything bad or not well, but I guess the best way to put it is they make teams look bad because they hold on to the ball, they don't give you the ball. So if you don't capitalize on your opportunities, you're not going to score a lot. And McLean found that out the hard way. I just have a feeling about South Lakes. They're really coming on strong. 85 points in the last 2 games. They are really finding the end zone a lot. And after being starved for that end zone for the first 2 games and finding it for 85 points now, I don't see them stopping against Madison.
And it may be a case where maybe they only need to score 20 to beat Madison. Madison hasn't shown the ability to put up too many points, so it could be a low-scoring game. Stonebridge at Langley, we've already kind of talked about this one a little. Stonebridge, probably favored in this one, can really put a stranglehold on that, on that district race in the Liberty. Stewart at Thomas Jefferson. Thomas Jefferson probably looking to, get back to where they were before, having a tough game against South Lakes and then losing to Stonebridge. And then West Springfield, West Potomac, one of the harder games, this week. West Springfield don't really know, what kind of team's going to show up. Is it a team that can run 269 yards with one player, or a team that can run 20 yards. So West Potomac's been playing pretty well, got a pretty good defense. Should be an interesting game.
Yeah, a host of great games this week. One game to really key on is that Valley Yorktown game. That's gonna give us fits in our top 10.
Mm-hmm.
Valley's been sneaking in and out every week, and Yorktown's been in there pretty consistently. So each team has the ability to move up or down this week, and it's a big one for both those teams.
Okay. Next, we're going to go to our hot seat questions with our guests here. It's not the Budweiser hot seat. Maybe it could be the Kool-Aid hot seat or something like that. Let's keep it PG-13. All right, Cameron. Let's start with you. When
Hold on, can I do the?
Go ahead.
Cameron Hadnot, you are now on the Kool-Aid hot seat.
Sounds good. Sounds good. When when Josh Whitmer's pass was coming to you in your big touchdown catch, what was kind of going through your mind? Did you have time to think?
I thought that the wheel would be open. That's the inside receiver. So when I ran my post route, I got off the ball hard, cut inside, and I was looking for him to be passing it to R.J. Curry,
Right.
number 16, and I turned my head, and the ball was flying right at me. So I just dove out. I really didn't have time to think about it. I just dove, just reacted to the ball, and I caught it.
Best touchdown of your career, would you say?
Nah, actually, I had one. It was my sophomore year playing varsity. I had a one-handed one.
Oof.
That was like in the back of the end zone. Oof. And I think I have it on tape. I don't know if I lost it or not.
That
but,
made the top 10.
It was definitely top two.
It was. I think that was one of my best. It wasn't in the fourth quarter or anything, but
Yeah.
I think I like that one a lot.
Awesome. All right, Dante, if you were in a foot race with Cameron and Evan, who's not with us here tonight, who would win? Let's say we're going 40-yard dash.
40. Cameron and Evan. I'd probably be last place.
Would you? Okay.
I don't know.
Well, who's a better singer?
Evan.
Oh, really?
Ooh.
What does he like to
We're gonna have to
sing?
line them up.
Seriously.
No, I'll sing better than Evan.
Okay.
He could probably beat me in a foot race.
All right.
Are we going to hear you belt out a tune right now?
You want me to?
What do you got? What can you do for us?
I can do anything.
Go ahead, man. Let's hear it.
What do you listen to when you're in your CD collection?
What's hitting in the iPod?
No, I'm not gonna bust.
All right.
All right. Cameron, when's the maddest you've ever seen Coach Urbanek? I know you haven't been there too long, but when have you seen him the maddest?
I don't know if you want me to put him out here like that. I don't need any 300.
He's sweating, ladies and gentlemen.
I don't even know. Langley League?
Against Langley, huh?
It was during practice.
Okay.
And we were kind of slacking a little
Okay.
bit. And he was like, it was really the maddest I've ever seen him. He says that we joke around with him. He's like, yeah, you haven't seen me mad yet.
Okay.
But I was like, okay, well,
Yeah.
if that's not mad, I don't even want to know really what mad is.
Seriously.
That's like
really-
that dad thing they do, man. The dad always, you haven't seen nothing yet.
Yeah. They're all the coaches are like Coach Odd, Coach Craig, Coach Thomas, Coach Urbanek. All the coaches are like, they're kind of like dads with us. They joke around with us, and when they have to be stern with us, they can
So
easily.
it comes from the top down, it looks like.
That was that time he got so mad, like he didn't even say anything.
He
You know when you're so mad, you don't say
He's
anything.
like,
That's the
all right,
worst.
and he just stopped and turned around. We were like, nobody wanted to touch him. Everybody's just like, what do we do? We're just staring at each other.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
So he was that's the worst I've seen him.
All right, Dante. What's the biggest difference between playing at Westville and playing at Chantilly?
Coaches.
Coaches. Okay. All right. And Cameron, this one's last one's for you. Well, I guess we'll ask you both. Are the Bulldogs reaching the Northern Region title game this year?
If we can, make it to all of our games, we might win.
Okay.
We might.
Who do you, if you guys get there, who do you think you'll be playing?
I don't know.
If we get there, it's a lot of tough teams.
I don't really go
in our
for real.
district.
Like me, I have no idea because I'm not.
Yeah.
I don't know anything about Virginia teams. I've heard about Percy Harvin and Lansdowne.
That's a little bit down the road, but that's the kid that pretty much destroyed Robinson last year in the state final game.
Incredible player.
Yeah, that's what I've been hearing. So I was like, maybe, I guess them.
If we did get there, it'd be a tough game against anybody.
We would. No one would go in there and just.
Yeah.
we wouldn't just walk over anybody. So it'd be a good game.
They're my softballs. BJ, you got any fastballs?
Here comes the tough questions. Here comes the tough questions. All right. So you've got your choice. We're gonna go with Cameron first. Cameron, you've got your choice for the homecoming game. Who are you gonna ask? Who are you gonna ask to the homecoming dance? Who are you asking?
And you can't ask Dante.
We're going with each other.
we were gonna go stag.
Oh, okay.
We were gonna
By
just.
ourselves.
I'm not letting you off that easy. I want a name.
No,
I don't really
Want a name or want to invite?
this hot seat is killing me.
He's gonna sweat. He's gonna sweat.
No, but really, guys, I guess now's the time to say, Cameron Hadnot, Dante Davis, you are off the Kool-Aid hot seat.
I think I'd like to put BJ on the hot seat. BJ, what do you put in your hair to make it stand up like so straight? It looks good.
Let me get a zoom. Let me get a close up. Can I get a close up? Can I get a close up? All right.
I think the hot seat questions are done. We're going to go over the FSN Top 10 Northern Region Football. It's a list that's kind of changed around a little bit. We'll go Robinson, Westfield, Oakton, Centerville, Edison, Hernan, Yorktown, Stonebridge, Loudoun Valley, and T.C. Williams. Then we're going to go to our football picks. If you want to send us your picks, send it to picks@fairfaxsportsnetwork.com. There you see our top 10. Let's see. We got some promotions coming up. Fairfax Sports Network, news and commentary from us, your local sports insiders, Wednesdays 10, Thursdays 7, Fridays at 12 noon on Cox Cable Channel 10. And the high school game of the week is coming up. McLean at Woodson. I don't know what kind of game of the week that is, but it could be a good one. Games there on Saturdays at 6 on Cox 35. Repeats daily at 5 a.m. and 6 p.m. Come on, Highlanders. And we are on the web, FSN on the web, www.fairfaxsportsnetwork.com. And our underwriters, Quality Care Ford Service Center, community located in Fairfax, 703-383-6299. And CCI Screen Printing, 703-978-0257. Well, that went about as fast as the end of the Centerville game. BJ, you have some news on a former Channel 10 host.
Yeah, just some sad news. We just learned longtime radio and TV producer and personality Dallas Burnett passed away this morning. You may remember Dallas from the local sports scene, out at a lot of high school and different type of pro games, and saw him a lot at George Mason University. He loved the Mason basketball program. He'd been struggling with heart problems for a couple of years, but he maintained his energy and passion for music and sports. He had a long career in broadcasting, got involved with FPA in the 90s. He hosted the Sports Scope show and radio show Swing Time and Music Matinee, and we're definitely going to miss him.
Okay, so I mean, you heard it here. We'd like to just send our condolences out to Dallas' family. So. For Dante Davis and Cameron Hadnot and BJ Kuberlis, I'm your host, Jeff Graham, and we are signing off. Everybody have a good night. Thanks a lot.
Oh, yeah.